Good evening, everyone. It is 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and this is a day later than I intended to do this. I was going to do a review of The Flash yesterday, but I got home and took a nap. It was like 3 in the afternoon, and I got up at like 7, and I just had like a really bad headache, and it was just like I ended up going to bed at like 10, so I got up at 8, and then I just pretty much vegged for a little bit, and then I was like, it was just like sinus pressure going on, so I was like, I'll wait. So anyway, I have a little bit of time, guys. We have friends coming over at 6, so I just got a little bit of time to get this in. I'll probably do a little podcast later on. Anna has to get up early tomorrow, so she'll be going to bed, and I'll probably do that later. So anyway, how's everyone doing? How are you doing? All right, so full warning, full spoilers here. So if you haven't seen The Flash yet, then, come back when you have to watch this review. And if you don't give a crap, then keep watching. If you don't give a crap about spoilers, then just keep watching. So I'll go over the basic points of the film and then some of the funny moments and some of the... So overall, I found it to be a mixed bag. I enjoyed it for the most part. It was fun. I won't deny that. It was fun. From a storyline perspective, there were some issues here and there. But overall, I mean, I had a good time. I laughed somewhat, and there was some cool stuff in there. But I have some issues, which I will discuss in this video. So basically, we start off with the Flash trying to get breakfast, and he's telling this guy his order, and the regular girl wasn't there, and there's a whole thing there. But then he gets a call from Alfred and Jeremy Irons, of course. And then he basically, then Ben Affleck's Batman says, "I need you, Barry." So, and there's a whole thing with the hospital falling apart, and somebody stole some kind of chemicals and stuff. So they're chasing him down, and there's this whole big slow motion kind of scene with these babies falling out of a thing, and it was very weird CGI, but it wasn't bad. It was just kind of it was kind of mildly amusing. So it was. Kind of fun, but and I think that the director has very much come out and said, yes, I know some of the CGI was a bit weird, but that was intentional, is what he said. So, but that's cool, I guess. So yeah, then he's kind of, then he ends up helping Ben Affleck, and then Wonder Woman shows up. Yay, Wonder Woman! Hey, with her epic thing. Dun, 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 good to see Wonder Woman there for her little cameo. There's a nice little moment with the lasso of truth too, which there was some funny bits there with both Batman and the Flash touching the lasso of truth. So that was cute. And then from there we basically get into him thinking about his mom and stuff like that. And so he's talking to his dad, this time played by Ron Livingston. You might remember from Office Space and the first Conjuring film and stuff. So good to see Ron Livingston. Awesome. He took over for Billy Crudup, who I think was filming a TV show for Apple and couldn't get out of the thing, so that's why Ron Livingston took over. So he's supposed to be getting an appeal. He's fighting for an appeal, but basically we find out that when his mom was murdered, they had his dad had gone to go get a can of tomatoes for the spaghetti or whatever. I think it was spaghetti they were having, but not important. Maybe it was chili. Who knows? Or maybe it was salsa. I don't know. Who cares? So anyway, basically, like what happens when he goes there is that she gets murdered, or stabbed or whatever, which we never actually see the person that stabs her. So I mean, if they did a sequel, I would hope that they would get into either Reverse Flash or Professor Zoom, or I think it was Reverse Flash that murdered her in the comics, I believe. I mean, that's how it was on the Flash show. So, but we never actually see that character at all, which is, I'd say that was kind of a disappointment, but I kind of understand why they didn't introduce him, just because this was supposed to be like the first Flash movie, which does give the problem of going around the Flashpoint thing as your first movie for the Flash. But this is where we're at, so I just got to roll with it. But yeah, so like he's trying to get footage of his dad being at the grocery store to prove that he didn't kill the mom, and he couldn't have killed the mom because he was at the grocery store. But in the grocery store, he's looking down at the tomatoes, and you don't see his face. So that's, and he's having this emotional talk with his dad. It was a nice scene, and his dad's like, "Hey, you know what? It's better that I'm in here, so I don't have to. I can think that your mom is still alive and living her life." And that was a nice moment. And meanwhile, he's kind of going through this, he runs through and he can see that day that she was murdered and stuff, and see the little version of himself. And then, as he's going through it, he kind of just like, his dad's like telling him, just, don't worry about it. If it doesn't go well tomorrow, we'll do our best, but I want you to live your life and do, all that stuff. So that was a nice moment. And then he goes and, runs really fast until he ends up being like kind of outside the Speed Force. The Speed Force thing was interesting. There was a lot of weird CGI there, but it was kind of interesting how it was like this kind of circle of different things throughout his day. So he realized he could go back to the past and, like, oh, I could go through this whole day and change things. And then, of course he gets the idea too, like, I can go back in the past and I can save my mom. And then, he's talking to Ben Affleck's Batman about like he said, I could save your parents. And he says, like, as much as that would be, that, this is kind of what made me, was my parents dying is what made me into this. And they have a nice little moment. He, flashes, hey, we're friends, we can hang out. And he says, next time, and he drives off. And Iris West comes and sees him, played by Kiersey Clemons. She's a cute girl. I'm not saying they're like, ooh, misogynistic, but no, she's a cute girl. And I don't care about the whole race bend thing. Whatever, who cares? I thought she was good. She had that kind of reddish hair and stuff like that. She was a reporter, so, they stuck to the character a bit better than they did in this Flash TV show, where she was just, I'm taking over Team Flash. We are the Flash, which was annoying as hell. Nothing against the actress. The actress definitely grew as an actress through that show, so give props to Candace Patton and stuff, but it was just that was those annoying seasons where it's just like, she's supposed to be a reporter, and then eventually they got her to do reporter things. Like, could she be a reporter and not be here at the Team Flash thing? Still interact with them, but like, she shouldn't be in charge of Team Flash, even if she's his, future wife and stuff. It's like, she's not in charge of Team Flash. She's a reporter like Lois Lane. Lois Lane isn't there all the time when Superman's doing his thing. Anyway, I got off that subject for a minute, but I thought she wasn't in a whole lot of it, but I thought like her scenes were fun and they had some, decent chemistry. And then he kind of figures it out, like, I can do this. He says, well, I can't directly go and interact, but I can do it so that she gets that can of tomatoes when she buys them at her grocery store. So he goes back and basically puts a can of tomatoes in her grocery thing, so that she buys it and then doesn't get murdered. But then he goes back and then, he shows up and now he's there. And his mom is alive and his dad is there as well, not in prison. And they have a nice little scene and banter. And some comic acting there from Ezra Miller. And like I said, regardless of what you feel about Ezra Miller, I'm judging the performance based off of that, not what's going on in the world with Ezra Miller and all the crazy stuff, which that's why Anna didn't want to see the film. Like I said, I was here for Michael Keaton. That was my main draw. If Michael Keaton was in the film, I probably would have not seen it either. But being I don't want to get into that whole thing because it's a whole nother thing. But I'm just going to be judging off the performance. So overall, at this point, I'm like, okay, he's not giving me too bad a performance. There's been some funny moments. But then he realizes that, there's still a Barry Allen here. And he starts coming up, and this Barry Allen's got longer hair, kind of how Ezra usually wears it, I think. And yeah, this is where it kind of got annoying. Now, I will say that the way they did the CGI, where they're interacting with each other, it did look good. It did actually look good. I felt like it felt like you believably were able, like, he's touching him and all that. It didn't look really awkward or anything like that, or like bad green screen, or, oh, look, his arm just went through him, But his version of the other Barry Allen, I literally wanted to slap this character so much. It's like, oh, this is Ezra Miller in real life. Oh, this is him. Because because the thing with him is, like, when Barry Allen was in those Justice League films, whether it was Joss Whedon or the Zack Snyder one, he wasn't the main focus. He was a side character, basically. He had his moments, and and he had some humor in there, which made him tolerable. But if you add two of them, it's just like, if you were already annoyed with Ezra Miller, add a second version of him that's even more fucking annoying, and then you'll be like, oh my god, like I was. And that's kind of like where the film kind of took a little bit of a turn for me, because it was just like, oh my god, this character is so fucking annoying. And I know what they were going for. Like, I guess, one of them's kind of doing Asperger's and the other one's ADHD. I think that's kind of what they're going for, those characters a little bit. Okay, whatever. But, that was where there was like moments, and there was a lot of focus on this other character, and it's just like, okay, so he's figuring out that he's got to get like, he realizes that he's like, I have to give you powers, because if you don't get powers, then this won't happen and this won't happen, and we'll have to stop him. They also realize that Zod is coming, I believe. That was one of the other factors. And he flashes back to, he said, I was there that day that Zod attacked in real life, and I tried to save someone. I saved one kid, but I couldn't save his dad. I still had and he had this kind of really badly done costume that he'd made up, and he hadn't been doing it all. So he was just randomly there that day the whole Superman and Zod thing happened. So he knows he's got to stop it, and he's trying to find all these other heroes, but he also has to make sure that the other Barry gets lightning attacked. So they have a scene where they phase through the door, which was very, very strange. And then the lightning happens, and they both actually get the lightning through them. And this one takes the original Barry Allen's powers away. So now he doesn't have powers, and the other one's got powers. And, of course, he's going nuts with the powers and running around and ending up naked in the streets and stuff like that. So it was kind of amusing. But he's just, like, bouncing out the walls with, I have powers, yeah, you know. So he's trying to teach him the powers and all that, to kind of control them and how to do this and how we have to wear so your clothes don't just get burned through with the speed and all that. So I thought it was interesting they tied into the speedster powers and the speed force and all that. So that was cool. So he's going there, and like we have these two characters that were kind of earlier in the scene before this. He went to the other universe. Like he had these two characters that were with him, and I think one of them was supposed to be Patty Spivot, who was on The Flash season 2. That he dated her on that one. But they're just kind of these two annoying characters, and they're just kind of there. There was a couple of good moments in this scene, though, because they had this whole thing with, like, Back to the Future with Eric Stoltz. Yeah, Eric Stoltz, he was great in that, you know. And they're like, oh, what about Michael J. Fox? Oh, the guy from Footloose? No, that's Kevin Bacon. Oh, he's from Top Gun, right? Yeah, I'm like... And so it's an interesting alternate universe where those castings, you know, were affected by different things. But I thought that was a nice moment. But these characters were all just kind of there. His other Flash's roommates. So they're trying to figure out, like, okay, I got to get a hold of... He's there, and other Barry Allen's trying to figure out, like, okay, how do I find... All right, let's look up. So he looks up Cyborg. Turns out this version of Cyborg didn't have the accident, and it's just a football player, so he's not going to be able to help. He can't find anything on Wonder Woman other than some old woman doing a magic show in Vegas. And then Arthur Curry, he tries to call his dad, and Arthur Curry has never been born at that point. So that rules him out, so all that leaves is basically, like, Bruce Wayne, right? So, and he's trying to find Superman too, and he can't find Superman anywhere in Kansas. So anyway, he ends up going to Wayne Manor, which is looking all dilapidated. Is that the word? Dilapidated? Whatever it is. Desolate, I guess, would be another word for it. There's like branches all around the things, and they go into the kitchen, and there's a scene. Michael Keaton's got long ass hair and a beard and all that, and looks just like, you know, very disheveled. And they have this nice little scene with music of him trying to, like, attack them. And he keeps hitting the other Barry without powers, and the other ones keeps avoiding him. And so eventually they were able to settle down and figure out who they are and stuff like that. And he kind of gives the multiverse explanation of, well, you're in the next division. He says, no, I know you're thinking Back to the Future with, you know, Eric Stoltz, how, like, you know, it was this. But really what it is it's like this, you know. So he kind of shows it. And that was a nice little explanation there. And at first he's kind of like, I don't want to help you guys. I'm good, you know. Like, he's done being Batman at this point. He's old. He's retired. Now, I don't think... A lot of people have said that that's not supposed to be the exact Batman that he was in 89. So, I don't know if that's supposed to be the truth or not. They don't really specify specifically that he is. I think it's kind of hinted at, but it could just be another version, I guess. I think whatever way you take it, it's not like if you think it is, that ruins the movie for you or something. Or if you think it isn't, it's going to ruin the movie. It won't ruin the movie either. Because Michael Keaton's awesome. And like I said, I pretty much enjoy pretty much everything he's in. But Beetlejuice, I'm looking forward to Beetlejuice too. That's going to rock. Yeah. So anyway, he, you know... The other Barry Allen's trying to, you know, find where Clark Kent is at. You know, he's trying to find Kal-El and stuff. And he finally figures out that they're in Russia and all that. Meanwhile, he kind of goes off on the other Barry Allen for being annoying. So it's like yelling at yourself. But it was interesting, too. Yeah, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I can. It was like, yes, please, tell this idiot to shut the fuck up. He's getting on my nerves. Earlier in the scene when he's in the Speed Force, the Black Flash actually pushes him into the universe. So you get to see Black Flash briefly. I already had an idea of who Black Flash was going to be revealed as, and I was correct. Anyway, as I was saying, strike that, reverse it. So then Bruce Wayne actually, he hears this and he's listening, and he kind of gets talked into it. And then it's funny though, because like he quickly shaves his beard and cuts his hair. Like there's no scene of him actually doing it. He just does it. He presses the button. You see all the Batman suits, and then he's just in the Batman suit, completely clean shaven. His hair's got. It's just like, when did he have time to do that? Did we miss a scene somewhere? But he's just ready to do, and he does his "I'm Batman" line, which was cool. And of course, the other Ezra Miller faints. You saw it in the trailer. So that's the thing with this movie. There, other than a few scenes, you basically, if you saw a lot of the trailers, you saw a lot of the movie. So that was part of it. It's like, and some of it you enjoy, and some of it doesn't. But anyway, so they go to Russia, and other Barry doesn't have his powers yet. But they basically go to break out Kal-El, and there's some good fight scenes in there. Batman looking badass and stuff, which is super cool to see Michael Keaton doing it. And then they basically, the other Flash tries to stop this guy with a gun and ends up getting shot in the leg. He's like, I can get shot. It's like, why did you think you couldn't? And they break out. They think it's going to be Kal-El, and it ends up being, of course, Supergirl. She didn't do a whole lot in the movie, but I thought what she did was pretty good. I know there's some people who are like, I don't like her short hair. It's woke nonsense. Shut up, people. Just shut up. I thought she was fine. I would be happy to have her be another Supergirl thing or multiverse thing or whatever. I think that she was fine. I don't think, like, some people will be like, she's a Mary Sue. It's like, guys, if it was Superman in there, it's the same damn thing. He would have done the exact same thing. If they had Henry Cavill, he would have done the exact same thing that she did, guys. This isn't about her being a female or a strong woman or anything that stupid shit that some of you guys are really just need to get over yourselves. But like, no, I thought she was fine. She had some good scenes. She gets powered up, and and at first she's kind of like, she's like, I'm not a human, I'm a Kryptonian. So, but she says Kryptonian is about peace, and like what Zod is doing is, war, and he's totally against where we're going. So she goes to kind of like find him, and he kills like a bunch of soldiers and stuff, because he's like, you failed me to bring me the thing. And so anyway, we go through it. And the other Flash wants to get his powers back, so they set up very much like the Flashpoint movie. He has, except in that one it was Thomas Wayne helping him, but has Bruce Wayne help him kind of like get electrocuted with the chemicals and all that stuff. And so Bruce Wayne's got this contraption. It's kind of like a kite up into the sky, and the lightning hits it and gets him in. And he's just like disheveled. And then Supergirl comes in, and she lifts him up to the sky, and he gets lightning again, and then she brings him back. And then he's got his powers back. So much like that, you weren't thinking he's going to get his powers back, but he's got his powers back. So now you got two Flashes. You got Supergirl and you got Batman, and of course he has his "you want to get nuts" line, which is cool. I never heard it in the trailer, but I still enjoyed it. It's Michael Keaton. Why not? Because I remember when he said that line in the original movie, like that's when I was like, oh, I saw a little bit of Beetlejuice there. Cause you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. I was like, hey, there's Beetlejuice. So that's why I've always enjoyed that line. Anyway, so they go in there. They go to the big fight with Zod and all that. And they have a plan. They're like, the other Flash is still making a lot of mistakes. He's still kind of getting used to things and getting knocked around a bit. Now I say this, I can understand what Michael Shannon's comments about being an action figure and just kind of he didn't really get a whole lot out of it, because they really don't do shit with Zod in this. Really, like he's just kind of there as a plot point. He's not like a main villain really. Like that's the only thing about this movie too. There's not really a real main villain. Like, you don't have some villain plotting things other than Zod just doing what he did in Man of Steel, basically. So, I mean, there's some cool fights, and there's some cool stuff with the Flashes and some of the CGI and stuff, and Batman being badass. But they get to a point where basically, like, Batman goes down, crashes his thing, so Batman's dead. And then Supergirl thinks she's beaten Zod to a pulp, and then he stabs her, and then they take her blood, because it turns out she's the one, and they had killed the infant Clark, so it's like, oh well, I guess we're not seeing Clark. So yeah, that happens, and then both Barrys keep saying, well, we got to reverse time. So they reverse time, and then like Batman still fucking dies. So that both Batman and Supergirl both fucking die no matter what they do to try to change it. So that I was kind of a little irritated that they killed Michael Keaton's character off, though. I'm like, what the fuck? So I don't know if that'll be the last we see of Michael Keaton as Batman. At the very least, if it is, well, at least we got that moment. It was cool to see him in that. So like I said, worth the price of admission just to see Michael Keaton be Batman again one more time. If this is the last time he ever does Batman, well, hey, at least we got that. So I appreciated that. Yeah, like I said, the worst thing for me was just like Zod felt pointless, and like I said, the other Ezra Miller, Barry Allen, was a little bit annoying at times. Most of the movie. That's the thing. I don't think Ezra Miller is a bad actor per se. I just think that they can be a little too over the top, and I don't know if they're necessarily, at least maybe in the right project, they might be a decent lead actor, but I just don't feel like as Barry Allen, I just don't gravitate as well. I do think that there's some good performances. Like when he's more the subdued Barry Allen, I feel like there's some good emotional moments. Like especially with his mom towards the end there. But like it's there's just that's the main thing. I think and that has nothing to do with the outside stuff, like I said. But it's just like I never felt like Ezra Miller, when I at least see Ezra Miller, like I don't feel like Ezra Miller is someone that's going to be like a box office draw, and even without all the issues, I don't feel like people are like, yes, Ezra Miller. It's like it's not like back in the the Tom Cruise or Harrison Ford box office champions who would just like they put a movie out and you just they're in that movie, they're going. Like, I don't see that ever being Ezra Miller even without the issues. I think that they can do some good performances, like in like more like independent stuff, like the thing around The Trouble with Kevin or whatever it was. I think that they were decent in that, but like most of the stuff I've seen, they've been very over the top and like just weird, which is fine. I don't mind weird performances. I'm a Willem Dafoe fan, so I mean weird performances are fine. But it was just there are moments where it's just like, oh my god, this character's why do we have to have two of them? I get the point of it. But so anyway, they keep going back in time, and like he's saying we have to end this because we're seeing all these other universes, and then that's when we have basically CGI things of Helen Slater as Supergirl standing with Christopher Reeve, which a lot of people found disrespectful. I was just like, I mean, it's no worse than what Star Wars did with Princess Leia or, Peter Cushing. So, I mean, it's one of those things. I thought it was a nice little tribute. There's one George Reeve in there, too, which a lot of people criticized because he hated, that role made him kill himself and all that. It's like, well, yeah, but still a nice tribute, and they had, they also showed a little bit of Adam West Batman. That was cool. And then we got Nicolas Cage Superman fighting a spider. That was funny. I laughed very wholeheartedly at that. Like, they actually did it. And there was a couple other ones. Nothing with the Arrowverse, which I thought was kind of like, oh, that's too bad. We could at least given them something. I understand they were going to get Grant Gustin, although he deserved a chance to be in this movie. Like, why couldn't Grant Gustin have been the other version of Barry Allen? Like, that would have been so easy. Just instead of having Ezra Miller play both roles, just have Grant Gustin play the other role. He doesn't even have to necessarily be the same one from the TV show, but like, that would have been an easy fix, but whatever. So like I said, they're basically in the Speed Force, and Barry's like, these other worlds are colliding, and we have to end this. I'm trying to think of who else was in those little CGI things. I think there was a couple more. Wonder Woman was there, Aquaman. Yeah, I think that's basically it. So the Nicolas Cage Superman, that was funny. And then basically he's like, well, we have to do it. And it's like, so we have to like let the mom die, basically. He's like, we have to change this because there's just not a world where we can do this. And of course the other Flash is like, no, we're not going to let anyone die. We're not letting anyone die. So yes, he keeps going back and forth trying to fix it every time, until basically he turns into the Black Flash, basically. So the Black Flash is the other Barry Allen. So no big surprise there. I think it was pretty clear from the trailers. But the thing at the same time, Black Flash isn't really that much of a villain either. He doesn't do that much. He does try to kill Barry Allen, but the other Barry Allen, the annoying one, jumps in front of him, and that pretty much deteriorates, and that's it for Black Flash. So yeah, that's the only thing I'd say. Like, there's not really. I mean, I guess Barry himself was kind of the villain for doing the whole Flashpoint thing. And I think as a lot of people say, oh, he's selfish. That's not a hero thing to do. But I think it is relatable in a way. Like, I mean, I think if you're a child and your parent is taken away from you, I think if you had a chance to bring them back somehow, I mean, a lot of people, I don't think it is selfish in a way, But like, I think if you like, if you're, yeah, your mom died or something like that, and you're wanting to bring her back, and she was able to bring her back, yeah, you wouldn't care too much if it's like, oh well, some other shit got fucked up, but hey, I got my mom back, or my girlfriend back, or my dad back, or whatever the case. We've all had those moments in our mind of like, man, I wish they weren't gone, and that's relatable. So I can see, but I can understand at the same time being a hero. That's not the most heroic thing. You're supposed to look, put others before yourself and all that stuff. Which I agree and disagree with at points. I think there's times when, hey, you have someone you love, why should you have to lose them? But anyway, being a hero, all that stuff. So yeah, he has a nice emotional scene where he takes the tomato can out of the thing and has a nice moment with the mother, and she hugs him and stuff like that. That was a nice moment, I thought. That was a nice scene. And then he goes back and thinks he's in his universe. So he's like, oh, I'm back. But I had a feeling that I'm like, before he went back, he probably did something to help the footage for his dad, because his dad's going to be on the trial and all that. So he zooms to the courtroom, goes in there, and Chrissy Clemens is there, and they show the footage, and in the footage this time, he looks up, and you see his face clearly there. So Henry Allen is free to go. He's off. And then Chrissy Clemens comes up and basically wants to have a dinner date with him. That was a nice moment, I thought. And so obviously he went back and moved the can up. So that obviously did that, which of course messed with the universe again, because he gets a call from Bruce Wayne and he says, I'm pulling up now. And a car pulls up and there's a bunch of people in front of him. And at first I'm thinking, I figured it's not going to be Ben Affleck, because I'm thinking they did all Ben Affleck's thing. He's not going to be in it. It's definitely not going to be Ben Affleck. So my next thought was, okay, is this going to be another version of Michael Keaton's Batman, which is actually what I was hoping for. But then as the crowd clears out, there's George freaking Clooney. I just laughed my ass off. I'm like, they actually did it. They brought Clooney. And he's just like, you're not Batman. He's like, oh, Barry. Shh, Barry, And there's an after credits scene. Basically, it's him and a drunken Arthur Curry and all that. It was mildly amusing, but nothing you haven't seen in an after credits scene in a Marvel movie either, So yeah, overall, I thought it was a pretty fun ride. Had some issues. Some of the CGI was a little choppy. Lack of villain. The other Barry being kind of annoying. But it's still worth a watch. If you absolutely don't want to watch it and don't want to support Ezra Miller, I totally understand that. That is totally respectful. If you want to see it from Michael Keaton, I totally recommend it. It's pretty cool. And yeah, like I said, some of the fight scenes aren't bad. Some of the CGI works, I think. The story overall works, I think. It still ties well into Flashpoint. But yeah, I would have loved to have seen Reverse Flash in there. Like, I feel like we need, if they do a sequel or something like that, whether it's Ezra Miller or not, we got to get Reverse Flash in there and really tie into that moment of killing the mother, because I feel like without it, it just felt like, well, this invisible person killed the mom. We never find out who the hell actually killed the mom. And I don't know, it just felt like a open plot point that I feel like just kind of got ignored. And it's like, well, shouldn't we find out who killed the damn mom? I mean, there should be did someone just walk in and stab her randomly? I mean, it just happened so quick. But yeah, overall, guys, like I said, Clooney being Batman is freaking hilarious. I doubt though. I'm sure it was just more for a laugh and a joke. I doubt we'll see Clooney interacting with the Flash, but who knows? We'll see what James Gunn has planned. I guess the director is going to be doing the Batman Brave and the Bold movie, which introduced Damian Wayne, and Batman as a father. So that should be fun. Which I've heard Jensen Ackles might be the front runner, which I think that'd be cool. I'd be okay with that, like him as an older Batman. But at the same time, if they wanted to use Clooney in a multiversal way, what the fuck, man? Give Clooney some respect, man. I mean, he got put into a bad movie, took over for Val Kilmer, who had already taken over for Michael Keaton. So it's like, yeah, Batman and Robin is bad. It's a really bad movie, but it's kind of funny to laugh at it now. And it's like, Clooney just kind of got thrown into it. He did what he could. And in terms of like looks, I think like he had a good like Bruce Wayne look. As my friend Demetrius had said, he had the good like Batman lips that he felt like he worked. So who knows? An older, distinguished George Clooney, it could work. It could work. Who knows? All right, guys. So that's my Flash review, spoiler review. Hope you enjoyed this review, guys. Like and subscribe. And like I said, I'll be back with the podcast to talk about a couple other things, possibly a screen pitch, final screen pitch before I move on to Candyman. So yeah. Cool, guys. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your weekend. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.